Here we have a SAT math problem. Okay, let's go to the question. F of x equals to b times square root of a negative x positive 7 times square root of a negative x. For the function f, a and b are constants and f of 16 equals to 0. If f of 9 is greater than 0, which of the following could be the value of a positive b? Okay, here we have to find the value of a positive b in the given answer choices. Okay, now let me take the given function as it is. That is f of x equals to b times square root of a negative x positive 7 times square root of a negative x. Okay, here when I look at the terms over here, both the terms contain square root of a negative x. So we can factor this square root of a negative x from these two terms. Okay, let me do it. Then we get f of x equals to, when I factor square root of a negative x from both the terms, we are left with b in the first term and 7 with the second term. Then I'm getting b positive 7. Okay, so here we have the same given function in simplified form. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this information in this function. That is, I'm going to plug in this 16 for x over here. Then I'm getting f of 16 equals to square root of a negative 16 times b positive 7. I just plugged in 16 for x over here and here. We know that f of 16 equals to 0. Since f of 16 equals to 0, we can plug in this 0 for this f of 16 over here. Then I'm getting 0 equals to square root of a negative 16 times b positive 7. Okay, here the product of two terms equals to 0. So whenever the product of two terms equals to 0, either the first one has to be 0 or the second one has to be 0, or sometimes both of them may be 0. Okay, so in that case, this one may be 0. That is square root of a negative 16 equals to 0, or b positive 7 equals to 0. Okay, let me write the stuff over here. Okay, now let's solve for a in this equation. For that, we have to square both sides to get rid of the square root over here. Okay, let me do it. So when I square both sides, the square root and square root will cancel out. I'm getting a negative 16 on the left side. So the value of 0 square is still 0. Let me add 16 to both sides. When I add 16 to both sides, negative 16 positive 16 will cancel out. I'm getting a equals to 0 positive 16 is 16. Okay, now let me solve for b in this equation. For that, we have to subtract 7 from both sides. Positive 7, negative 7 will cancel out. I'm getting b equals to negative 7. Okay, now I got the values of for a and b. So the value of a is 16 and b is equal to negative 7. So here usually what we will do is, so immediately we'll calculate the value of this a positive b, because our aim is to find the value of a positive b. We got the value of a, we got the value of b, and many students will do that is a positive b equals to 16 and the value of b is negative 7. 16 negative 7 is 9. That is the value of a positive b is 9. So here we find 9 in answer choice C. So we may conclude that answer choice C is correct. Actually, technically we have to handle this question. So first we have to make sure the values we got for A and B will work with the function. Particularly consider the simplified form of the function. Okay, now let me erase this stuff and continue with the simplified form of the given function. That is over here, that is f of x equals to square root of a negative x times b positive 7. So here we got that a equals to 16 and b equals to negative 7. What if I plug in these values of these two constants a and b over here into the given function? So let me do it. F of x equals to square root of 16 negative x. Okay, I plugged in 16 for a over here. And now we have to plug in this negative 7 for b. When I do so, negative 7 positive 7. Then we get f of x equals to 0, because negative 7 positive 7 is 0. 0 multiplied by this stuff equals to 0. So when a equals to 16 and b equals to negative 7, we get f of x equals to 0. Okay, now in this function, if I plug in 9 for x, what value will I get on the right side? Still I'm getting the same value 0, because if I find x over here on the right side, I can plug in the same 9 for x on the right side. But here we have 0 on the right side. Whatever value I plug in for x, still I'm getting 0 on the right side. So for f of 9, I'm getting 0. That is f of 9 equals to 0. But there is an information in the question. F of 9 has to be greater than 0. But here when I use the values of the constant 16 and negative 7 into the function, that is when I plug in these two values into the given function, so I'm getting f of x equals to 0. That means it results f of 9 is equal to 0. It does not meet the condition we have over here. So there is something wrong with the values of a and b. Particularly, we have something wrong with the value of b, because only the value of b, that is negative 7, makes this stuff as 0. When I plug in negative 7 for b over here, this particular factor becomes 0. When this one is multiplied by this, it becomes 0. That is, f of x becomes 0 because b equals to -7. Okay, now currently we can accept the value of a, that is 16. We cannot accept the value of b, that is -7, because it makes f of x 0 and does not meet the condition of here. Okay, since the value of a, that is a equals to 16, is accepted, we can plug in the 16 for a over here into the given function. Then the given function becomes f of x equals to square root of 16 negative x times b positive 7. Okay, now let me consider this piece of information, that is f of 9 greater than 0. Now to get the stuff that is equal to f of 9, what I have to do is I have to plug in x equals to 9 into the function f of x over here. That is, I have to plug in 9 for x over here. In that case, I am getting square root of 16 negative 9 times b positive 7 greater than 0. So this is a stuff is equivalent to f of 9. Okay, now let's simplify this one. Square root of 16 negative 9 is just square root of 7 times b positive 7 greater than 0. Okay, here the product of two terms is greater than 0. We know that square root of 7 is already positive. So since square root of 7 is positive, then the value of this b positive 7 also must be positive. So that when I multiply a positive value by another positive value, so the product will be greater than 0. That is positive. So the value of b positive 7 must be greater than 0. Okay, now let's solve for b in this case. So for that we have to subtract 7 from both sides. When I do so, positive 7 and 87 will cancel out, then I'm getting b greater than -7. Okay, now let me draw a number line and let me mark now with -7 on the number line. Okay, since b is greater than -7, let's graph this inequality over here. So since we have only greater than sign, let's make an empty circle over here. Greater than -7 means I have to consider all the values to the right side of -7. So this is the graph of this inequality, b greater than -7. Now let me consider some integer values to the right side of -7. They are -6, -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1. Okay, we can consider a lot of values, a lot of integer values to the right side of -7. And here we have a question. B is greater than -7. B is greater than -7 means we can consider any value greater than -7. Why do we consider only the integer values over here to the right side of -7? When I consider the value of a positive b in the given answer choices, in all the answer choices we have only integer values. Already we know that a equals to 16, it is an integer. Then the value of b also must be an integer, so that a positive b will be an integer value. That's why I have considered only the integer values to the right side of -7. Okay, now let me take the value of a, that is a equals to 16, and b has to be greater than -7, and also b has to be an integer. Okay, now let me consider the first integer value to the right side of -7, that is -6. Okay, when I take b equals to -6, what is the value of a positive b? Then a positive b equals to 16. A is 16, and we can plug in -6 for b. Then 16 6 is 10. So this 10 could be the value of a positive b, but we don't find this 10 in the given answer choices. So now we can skip the value of -6 for b, and we can try the other integer values of b one by one. Okay, let me try -5 for b. So when I take b equals to -5, the same -5 I have to plug in for b over here. In that case, 16 -5, I'm getting 11. 11 also could be the value of a positive b, but we don't find 11 in the given answer choices. So we can skip -5 for b. We can try the other integer value for b, that is -4. When I take b equals to -4, I have to take -4 over here. Then I'm getting 12, but we don't find 12 in the given answer choice. Let's try -3 for b. In that case, 16 -3 equals to 13. No, we don't get 13 in the given answer choices. Let's try -2. So 16 -2 is 14. We don't find 14 in the given answer choice. Let's try b equals to -1. Then we get 16 -1. That is for a we have 16, and for b we have -1. 16 -1 is 15. This 15 could be the value of a positive b, and we find this 15 in answer choice D. Among the values in the given answer choices, the value 15 in answer choice D could be the value of a positive b. So the correct answer choice for this question is D.